Hello and welcome to the sixth episode of the Bare Bones for the Practical PM series. In this series, we pick up concepts that are important to the product managers, cut through the fluff, and get to the essence of it. Today, we will talk about something that the product managers have to deal with all the time. They have to deal with it more than anything else, more than metrics, more than meetings, more than stakeholder alignments, more than developer and designer questions. And that thing is ideas about their product. So let us figure out what to do with ideas. There are ideas that come in the course of problem solving. Those are relatively straightforward. You generate and evaluate those on the basis of whether they will help you solve your problem, how well will they solve the problem, and what are the efforts involved. But the ideas we are talking about right now are not of that kind. These ideas rain down on us whenever they feel like. They will come from your colleagues, your team members, your vocal users, your complaining users, your bosses, and even your CEO. Assuming it is a situation where the idea is not a diktat which must be implemented for some strategic PR, legal, or organizational reasons, irrespective of product reasoning, here is what you do. Step 1. You ask what will this idea achieve if implemented. The first answers you will get will typically be platitudes like improve user experience, make XYZ experience frictionless, be soothing to the eyes of the users, etc. Work further on it. What is the business objective it will attain? Will it really remove the friction it says it will? Will it remove the friction at a place that is really seeing drop-offs? What will it achieve if those drop-offs were eliminated? More people signing up or more people unsubscribing? You will be surprised at how many ideas fail to do anything meaningful once you probe into them, keeping in mind the real business outcomes. Remember that this focus on business outcome does not mean short-term focus. Business outcomes can be both short-term and long-term. So if the friction is removed in a part of the product that may not necessarily increase revenue in the short term, but will smoothen a part of the user experience that sees high engagement, then it is a valid idea as far as the business outcome is concerned. It will improve user satisfaction for a large number of users. So that is step 1. Figure out what will this idea really achieve if implemented. Step 2. Ask how relevant the business outcome identified in step 1 is to the company currently. Suppose it does smoothen the experience in a highly used part of the product, but given everything else that is on the company's plate right now, is that the problem we are looking to solve? If not, then there is no point in going ahead, else go right to the step 3. Step 3 comes into picture when the idea does indeed solve a problem you are looking to solve. Now the question is what else can solve this problem and which of them are the ones that give the best trade-off in impact versus effort. So at this point, this idea becomes like other ideas you generate in the course of problem solving, and you can evaluate it along with others in the running. So yes, that's what you do with the ideas. Sounds simple enough, but it is the first step that is the most difficult to carry out well. You need to avoid some common traps at that stage. First trap, justifying an idea because there are multiple reasons to do it. When people come up with an idea, they are emotionally attached to it and keep finding reasons about why it should be done. If the discussion goes in that direction, that it will achieve this as well as that and that too, it is almost a sure sign that there isn't a very strong case for the idea. It is important to direct the discussion so that it can make a case for some significant impact and not given to the idea because it has the potential of making so many things better. Does it make any of those things significantly better is the question to be answered. Second trap. Never moving beyond platitudes as a reason. Some variation of it is better for the users is the most common platitude. You must push further. So users will have to scroll less to do XYZ in the product. Is there a point in making the users scroll less? Do users really care about scrolling less for this, or have we assumed that scrolling less is always an enhancement? What typically happens in such cases is that people define whatever their idea will do as an improvement for the user rather than figuring out what an improvement really will be and then coming up with an idea for that. extremely important to avoid this trap by probing further. A third trap is ease of implementation as a reason for picking up an idea. Ease of implementation does come into picture along with expected impact when multiple ideas are competing for the same outcome. But no idea should be implemented just because it is easy if it doesn't achieve something important or significant for the product and the business. Very, very important to remember. An easy to implement idea trap combined with the first trap of it can improve many different things is a short way of doing busy work in the product without improving anything much. Finally, remember that you might yourself be the source of ideas you fall in love with. You must avoid that too. Even your own ideas should go through the rigor of the steps that we have discussed earlier. In fact, as a product manager, being able to rigorously analyze your own ideas and discard them when needed may be a more important skill than generating ideas. You can always borrow ideas. Selecting the right one is your job. Now, let us take some example of ideas and how we take them through this process. Suppose you are a PM for Slack and somebody from the senior management took a fancy to the idea that Slack should have a status feature similar to WhatsApp. Would you do it? How would you decide? Step 1. What will this idea achieve if implemented? Most likely, the person proposing it will say that it will achieve better engagement. It will make users spend more time on Slack, presumably posting WhatsApp-like statuses on Slack instead of or in addition to posting them on WhatsApp. Spending more time can be considered engagement, so let us assume that it is achieved. Step 2. How relevant is this outcome to the company? Now, engagement is without doubt an important metric for Slack, because how does Slack earn its revenue? From the corporate customers who buy paid subscriptions. And retaining these paying customers year on year is super important. If the product was not being used by the employees, Slack will definitely lose their customer and hence their revenue. But is the kind of engagement Slack looks for same as the kind of engagement WhatsApp looks for? They are both applications that can be used for chatting, voice and video calls, communicating one-on-one or in groups. But Slack is first of all a productivity tool. WhatsApp is a social media tool. Slack is in the business of making people use their time more effectively. WhatsApp is in the business of making people spend more time with them. Slack wanting to do what WhatsApp is doing would be bizarre at best and damaging at worst. So overall, Slack getting out of this feature what WhatsApp gets out of it does not seem like a relevant outcome for Slack. Is there any other expected outcome that could possibly be relevant? I can't think of any, but if you do, that may change the decision. With my current understanding and reasoning, picking up this feature based on the superficial similarity of the two applications would be a bad product decision. As another example, consider the idea for New York Times to introduce InShots-like feature in its app. Should that be done? This is a more interesting one. Let's do step 1. What will this achieve if implemented? Now, there is clearly a demand for short-form content in today's world, especially on mobile, by a set of users who are too distracted, have too much of information overload, and can't or won't spend time consuming long pieces of news or editorials. New York Times presumably has all the relevant content and also the competence to create the InShots-like form out of it. So it is likely that with its brand in place, if New York Times introduced a free InShots-like feature, it will be able to get significant traction for it. More people will flock to its app and they will probably spend more of their snack reading time on New York Times app. So looks like there is something substantial to be achieved with this. Now the step 2. Is this outcome relevant to New York Times? New York Times has been behind a paywall for a long time now. So we would make an assumption that revenue is important for them, not just free engagement. Would a feature like this contribute to the revenue? Currently, New York Times lets a user installing the app read 3 stories a month for free. For more, you have to pay. Can InShots-like feature with the engagement it generates help New York Times get more people to pay? Let's use our problem solving techniques to determine the possibility. The problem statement is to get more users to subscribe to the paid plans on New York Times app. How do you break this down? Funnel is one of the natural first step of the breakdown. After initial subscription, there would also be the existing user challenge of retaining them over subsequent subscription periods. I have included it in the funnel to keep the discussion simple. So, funnel steps will include app installation, reading one article, sign up to read more free articles, finish free articles quota, subscribe, regular activity over a month, and renew subscription. So, if the feature can get either more people to subscribe or more people to renew subscriptions, it will be worth considering. Now, in the funnel, what is happening to the users who drop off at each stage? They either retain the app or they uninstall the app. If they retain the app, there is a possibility of engaging with them and converting them later. If they uninstall, that possibility goes away. So if people can be stopped from uninstalling with the InShorts like content, that could increase the top of the funnel for later conversion or renewal. However, you have to determine whether engagement with InShorts like content can help drive more subscription. At this point, you must think through the other possibility as well, that if the users had unlimited access to InShorts like content, would they feel the need to subscribe at all? Could this backfire instead of helping? This is the point at which more user understanding is required, which you should have if you are inside the company and have access to the product data as well as user research. Why do the users subscribe to New York Times? Is it just for information or is it for long-form content? Is there some kind of irritation introduced in the current process of requiring subscription after 3 free articles that could be smoothed by the access to InShorts like content while the user has still not subscribed to the full app? Or could InShorts like content be used to introduce a different kind of monetization, like micropayments for individual articles whose InShorts version a user has liked and would like to read the long form version? I will not take this further here because we really need good understanding of the New York Times subscriber users at this point of time and also of potential subscriber users for a new model. But unlike the previous example of WhatsApp like status for Slack, this is an idea that actually has a chance of contributing to the business. A person inside the company with access to data and user insights should be able to make a case for or against testing this idea. And if they make a case for it, then it can be taken to the step 3 and see what are other ideas for increasing subscriptions or revenues it is competing with and how will it fare compared to them. Let us take another example where the idea is for Myntra to introduce a score against any product you are viewing based on your past purchase and viewing history, which will tell you how suitable the product is for you. Step 1. What will the idea achieve? Presumably ease of decision making and hence increased purchases. But this needs more probing. Is that how users shop on Myntra or any fashion e-commerce? Try to find something to buy at the earliest? Perhaps certain groups do and certain do not. But even if certain groups are trying to buy something quickly, are they really looking for a score-driven discovery of new things? Or do they just know what they want and they will buy that instead of discovering something new through the score? For coming to a decent conclusion, once again I would need an insider's access to data and user insights. But my intuitive sense is that most fashion buyers probably want to explore and not just get a quick recommendation and be done with it. But there could really be different segments of the users. You also have to consider that even if there are people who would find it easier to make decisions with the score, will it result in their buying less or more? If exploration leads to more buying from them, then giving them a score and helping them purchase quickly might actually lead to them buying less. This is an idea that has a high possibility of being shot down in step 1 itself, but internal insights might just surprise me for a specific segment of the users. If it does pass step 1, then step 2 is easy. Higher revenue is of course important for the company. But step 3, where it competes with all the other potential solutions for improving revenue, may again be tricky. Perhaps improving search and recommendation for these people can be more beneficial than a new feature of score. You can also do an exercise of evaluating a related idea. What if instead of showing scores for yourself, it showed you the score for your friends and other people for whom you may want to buy a gift? How would you evaluate such an idea? That's your homework. So that was our discussion on what to do with ideas. Hope it was useful. I will finish this episode here. More interesting stuff is on the way. So do tune into the next episodes as well. Thank you so much for watching.